Hi, I'm Wolfgang Puck, and you're watching Delmarva Live.
You know what I've learned that I'm missing in my kitchen?
Yeah.
Vegetables.
You'll get that later.
You'll get it later. For many of us, we couldn't fathom the thought of living without coffee. I'm sitting next to one of those right now.
In fact, some of us have a hard time waking up without our caffeine. It's become such a big part of our lives that we don't think twice about the impact caffeine can have on our body, but you may be surprised.
Ever wonder why some drinks give you a boost and others don't? We're talking about surprising facts when it comes to caffeine. This all coming to us from an article in Time magazine. The author of the book Caffeinated shed light on some caffeine secrets. If we are talking about a hierarchy of caffeine levels, Starbucks coffee is king, followed by energy drinks like Red Bull. Even the 16-ounce ones like Monster and Rockstar only have about half the amount of a drip-brewed grande coffee. According to the author, even with coffee shops on every street, we drink less coffee than people did in the 50s. Even so, coffee accounts for about 2/3 of our caffeine intake. This perhaps most interesting of all, it doesn't take much to become dependent on caffeine. As little as 100 milligrams a day, 3 Cokes or 2 bags of Lipton tea are enough to get you hooked and make you feel withdrawal symptoms if you try to give it up quickly.
A few more surprising caffeine facts you may not know, according to About.com. If you think switching to decaf means you aren't getting any of the stimulant, think again. Studies show decaf coffee does have some caffeine in it, although it's much less than regular coffee.
So, you're drinking a dark roast coffee because you think it's got more caffeine than light roast, right? Wrong again. Studies show light roast coffee actually packs more of a jolt than dark roasts.
And when it comes to caffeine, all coffees are not created equal. About.com says different brands of coffee have different amounts of caffeine in them, so check the label if you want to know your actual caffeine intake. So considering what we just learned, how much do you really know about caffeine, and what other impacts can it have on our body?
Well, joining us today to tell us more about that is Dr. Melinda Cecil, who is a registered dietitian and director of dietetics at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Glad to be here, as always.
I've got a very simple question.
Yes.
What is it with us and caffeine?
Well, you know, when you think about that poor little North African sheep herder who saw his goats eating those berries and getting frisky, and and the Chinese emperor who had those leaves get into his hot water and tea was born, we have been hooked for a long time.
For a while.
We like that pick-me-up. We like the fact that it makes us feel alert and we think better. And athletes even like it because it helps to increase their endurance. So yeah, I think caffeine's here to stay.
So when we have a cup of coffee, how long is it before the caffeine reaches its peak?
Well, it's pretty quickly absorbed. So 30 to 60 minutes. Some people feel that it results as early as 10 minutes after consuming it. And then it's cleared out of the system fairly quickly. But
Doesn't last very long?
Doesn't, well, it can last 8 to 15 hours. However, it can clear out, you know, if you don't eat coffee before 6 hours before you go to bed, it may not affect you.
Yeah, I can have a coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I can't sleep at night. So what impact does coffee have on our heart and mind?
Well, it is a stimulant and it is a drug, and that's what people need to understand. It can increase heart rate, it can cause irregular heartbeats, and it's even been found to cause seizures in some individuals.
Really?
That's extreme, but it can have a profound effect, and I think we forget that it is probably the most commonly consumed drug in America.
Wow. So, okay, so we've been doing the regular caffeine thing, the regular elbow bend. We decide to sit it down.
Okay, expect that classic caffeine headache.
Oh yeah.
Often we feel fatigue, we can have moodiness, even sort of depression. You know, we just feel out of sorts until we get it cleared out of our system. And that, if you're a heavy caffeine user, it could take 3 to 4 days before you feel like you're not having any effect of the caffeine withdrawal.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that with when I was pregnant and I stopped caffeine cold turkey. I had the worst headaches. It was terrible.
Now think about it, we also use it, it's a mild analgesic, and so you see it in a lot of pain medications as a way to enhance the effect of the medications. So, you know, it has pharmaceutical aspects as well as just, you know, consumption.
Now, you said you can't drink coffee after 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
When should we stop drinking coffee if we want to get a good night's sleep?
Well, and it depends, and it depends on how you get your caffeine. Tea drinkers may be different from coffee drinkers.
Oh, okay.
You know, classically 6 hours before you go to bed, but in your case it may be longer, and so it's somewhat individual, but at least 6 hours, I would say, before you go to bed is a good time to stop.
Now, many of us don't give our kids coffee, but they do get some caffeine. What does it do to their little bodies?
Well, the first thing, it is a stimulant, and so you are giving them a drug. The thing I like to emphasize is that we might be drinking less coffee as a society, but we're drinking more beverages with caffeine, so it's a cumulative effect. If children are drinking a lot of caffeinated beverages, chances are they don't have many nutrients, so it's a big nutrient displacer. They're not getting foods that are really helping them grow. They're getting, foods that may interrupt their sleep, so they're not getting the sleep and rest they need for their bodies to grow. It could have effects on their heart and their cardiac system, and you're also training them to consume something to get them going without the natural ways of motivating them. So we have to remember it's a drug, and the American Academy of Pediatrics doesn't recommend more than 100 milligrams for teens and very infrequent use for young children.
Okay, so what's your take on this? Caffeine, good, bad?
I think it depends. Moderation in all things. I think if you're an adult and you can use it appropriately, but I'm not sure it has much place at all with children, and teens have to be careful with its use as well.
Melinda Cecil,
Right.
thank you so
Thank
much for the
you.
information.
Great.
Good stuff.
And if you'd like to read more on the surprising facts about caffeine, go to our website, delmarvalife.com, and click on the show tab.
Well, from what we drink to what we eat, I hope you're hungry, because a little bit later on, we are in the Delmarva Life kitchen making berries and cherries jubilee.
But next, when God speaks, she listens, and what he says has led this Eastern Shore, Virginia woman to a 20-year career in making folk art. We meet Mama Girl and find out why her hands and the spirit from above are a perfect match.
But first, Delmarva Life is all about community. Well, that includes your community.
Is there something going on in your neighborhood? We'd love to hear about it and see your photos from the event. Send the information our way along with any pictures you'd like to share.
We'd love to see this stuff. It's real easy to reach us. All you have to do is go to comments at delmarvalife.com, shoot us an email with the attachments, or like us on Facebook and share the information there. Delmarva Life, we'll be right back.